Okay, everyone, welcome back. We got another week of Down the Line. We got a big week. We got power rankings. We are allowed to look at them. Not necessarily going to take them. We'll take them with a grain of salt, but we're allowed to look at them again. That's back. We got a Yankees 5-1 week. DeGrom coming back from a weird little injury situation. Rays getting swept. DBacks getting swept for, what is it, like 3 straight weeks now? Just continuous sweeps. Buster Posey having an MVP season, got a lot of stuff going on. But first thing we got to get into is this sticky stuff, spider tack, rosin, sunscreen situation, and how it's now affecting pitchers and how they're literally getting hurt from it now. So, I mean, Nick, you got a little breaking news, I guess. What's going on?
I honestly kind of forgot about this, but one of my Mets fan buddies just texted me saying Joey Lucchesi, who was actually pitching well for them, probably needs Tommy John now, and it's just another injury after this last week or two crackdown by Major League Baseball. Obviously, Tyler Glasnow had the comments where he came out and was really pretty jacked up about it, saying that, it's unfair that MLB dropped this on them mid-season. Some people were making fun of him for it. I really praise him for coming out. I think he's right. Especially you look at Tyler Glasnow, a guy who's a Cy Young candidate, probably a top 10, starting pitcher in all of baseball. When he speaks, you should probably listen about something like this. I don't get why this was a change they had to drop on these guys midseason. Like when you think about pitchers and how sensitive they are and just like throwing, Clark Schmidt, look at him. He threw his first bullpen in spring training too hard. The guy still hasn't pitched. We're talking about 4 months later. Like when you're talking about guys and their, their arms and their elbows, you don't want to fuck around with this stuff. I don't know if you could speak to it maybe a little bit more eloquently, Rob, but I think when you're talking about something that guys have been doing for years, and at the very least all of this year since they started their throwing programs in January, February, whenever that may have been, and you're just be like, all right, next week this stops. I think it's just pretty fucked up to do. And really the worst part about it is that it's to cover up what Manfred did dejuicing the baseballs. No one cared about the sticky stuff in 2018, 2019, 2020, but now that offense is down, they panicked and they had to figure something else out. And it really goes back to Manfred fucking with these baseballs.
Yeah. And you're right, Nick. It has a lot to do with the fact that they're doing this mid-season. Bauer said it too. As much as I literally say this every episode, I hate that I agree with him, but he's right about a lot of shit he says, especially when it comes to pitching. The guy knows what he's talking about. I'll give him all the credit in the world. He knows what I'm talking about when it comes to his body and when it comes to pitching, whatever else it is about him. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to that. The ball, and I said this last week, the balls are slick. Remember I said I was talking about the pearl. Like when you take a new baseball out of a bag or out like the little wrapping that it's in, that's not an easy baseball to throw. You need the rosin, you need a little sand on it, you need a little dirt on it, whatever it is. And Glasnow, what he said specifically is, I switched my fastball grip and my curveball grip. I had to put my fastball deeper into my hand and grip it way harder. That's the problem right there, is having to grip it way harder. Instead of holding my curveball at the tip of my fingers, I had to dig it deeper into my hand. I'm choking the shit out of all my pitches. That's what he said. And this is just a specific kind of tangent about another pitch. But one of the most dangerous pitches to throw for a pitcher outside of throwing a curveball at a young age and all that, bullshit, waiting around for your elbow to be developed, is the splitter. The splitter is one of the worst pitches because it fucks with your forearm and then it goes all the way down to your elbow just because of this little, I'm not a doctor, but like it's too tight in this situation right here. And that it kind of comes back to the fact that when you're doing this, you're gripping it way too hard because you have to get around the base with the splitter in order to get the movement on it and the rotation. So that's just gripping it way too hard. And now you have to do that with a pitcher now throwing probably 100 times a game because you have to get the ball deeper in order to get a better grip on it. And in Glasnow's case, a guy who relies on, a fastball curveball, that spin trying to look exactly the same, not having, the same arm angle, the same speed that you're throwing it, it becomes hard when you're trying to grip a curveball as hard as you can, and a slider now in his case, trying to grip it as hard as you can and make it be effective, make it move. And when you grip it that hard, it is going to fuck with your elbow, especially when you haven't been doing that. It would have fucked with his elbow in the offseason probably too, but at least he would have had a chance to ramp up to it. You just said 1 week you can do this, next week you can't, but in between, you're still throwing in big league games. So like that is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, I was very opposed kind of to them even doing this switch in the first place because like, come on, you need to put something on the baseball. It's tough. It really is tough to throw a baseball when it is not have at least some dirt on it at the very least. But Glasnow's right. And now it's resulting in injuries I hate to say it. I would be shocked if Lucchesi was the last one. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. This is not a natural throwing motion. How many times have we heard that? We heard that our whole life growing up. This is not natural. You have to train your arm. You have to train your elbow. You have to train your shoulder. There's times when pitchers throw and they don't even activate their shoulder. That was a thing that we learned in college. Don't activate your shoulder today. Give it a rest. So you do like all stuff down here, just like drills, whatever it is, because you're supposed to give your body rest. This is not natural. And now you start fucking with it. People are going to get hurt very, very consistently.
No, absolutely. And look, don't take this as me being a hypocrite. Obviously, I'm a big Yankee fan. I'm a big Garrett Cole fan. You could argue that nobody in all of baseball has benefited more from using spider tack, sticky stuff than Garrett Cole. I get that. And I do think at the end of the day, eventually getting the spin rate increasing substances out of baseball will be good for the game. How many times have you and I said baseball needs to figure out ways to increase more action, get more balls in play, less 3 true outcome, not just homer strikeout, but doubles, all of that stuff. I totally get that. I think that's a good goal to have, but that can't come at the expense of the sunscreen and rosin and all these other things, whatever else you use to get a grip on the baseball. Because
fucking dirt.
And even the spider tag too, because if that's something you came into the year using and you've been using the last 3, 4, 5 years, you shouldn't have to drop that in a week. But not only that, there's really no alternative. Like rosin on its own, all that does is remove moisture. So like on like a hot day, sure, does that help you? You get some sweat off your hand a little bit and grip. Yeah, sure. But it's not really going to help you grip like you're talking about the pearly new baseball that is not scuffed up whatsoever yet. So
especially when they make you change the ball every other pitch. How many times do you see a ball in the dirt, the catcher throws it away? Now you got a new pearl that you got to look
right.
at.
Exactly.
That's why they put the shit in their hat. They put it here because they get a new pearl every 2 pitches and you can't throw that.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just too much. And you know what? Like, even like I just said, I think it is a good idea to eventually, crack down on the spider tack, to spin the ones that are not just with the goal of getting a better grip on the ball, but to specifically increase your spin rate and movement on the ball. I'm fine with you cracking down on that. But if you can't crack down on that without it coming at the expense of these sunscreens, the pine tars, everything else that's just for grip, then sorry, you don't have the luxury to crack down. Like if you don't trust umpires enough to not make the jurisdiction between the two, then you can't. That's like saying, hey, we're going to test for steroids, but we can't just test for steroids. We're also going to test for whey protein powder. So if you take steroids or whey protein powder, you're fucked. It's like, no, like why? Like it's different. Just crazy. Yeah. And who knows what percent of the league, like is it only 10% of you guys using spider tack and the rest of them are using the quote unquote legal substances? I doubt it. I'm sure a good amount of guys are using these spin rate goos. We've seen plenty of guys spin rates drop the past week or two, but why punish a guy who maybe hasn't? Maybe he just uses pine tar, but now he can't use anything. So it's just all such bullshit to me. And really, I think what it keeps coming down to is 2 factors. One, that they dropped it this quick on guys instead of doing it in the offseason like any other league would have done, any other comp commissioner would have done. And 2, the fact that the only reason they're making this change is because of Manfred fucking with the baseballs and offense being down. So those 2 factors just make me so fucking angry.
Yeah, it's all of that. And I hate the fact that they're all of a sudden trying to mark these pitchers off as like cheaters to a degree. Like they're almost kind of treating it like they treated steroids in a way where it's like, oh, you're going to get banned now because you use your stuff. Like, yo, these guys, just like people, there was literally an era of baseball called the steroid era where people use steroids. This isn't the same thing. This isn't like the spider tack era. Do you know what I mean? Like 2 years ago, just like you said, people were league record home runs against guys who were supposedly using shit. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like it was like this outrageous number of like home run or like pitching excellence over the past 2 or 3 years. Like it wasn't anything special. So this wasn't this era of baseball that they had to put their foot down all of a sudden. This could have waited until the offseason. It's just they panicked because there was 7 no-hitters in the first 2 months. Mm-hmm. So it's pissing me out that they're making it seem like this is like some new era of cheating that they're cracking down on, when 2 years ago there was the Astros scandal and they did literally nothing other than ban the coaches who were a part of it, and no players had to suffer the consequences. And now these players are literally suffering the consequences, because now when Glasnow comes for his time to get paid real big, get paid like an ace that he really should be, people are going to think, I don't know, he tore his UCL. Is he the same pitcher?
Yeah.
Kesey, someone who's probably a journeyman type guy. Is he going to get a contract again because of Manfred? Now you're fucking with people's lives and their careers because of this, because you just don't want people to stop throwing no hitters.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it sucks too. It sucked optically just because it was like, instead of the story of baseball being DeGrom or Ohtani or, Tatis, Acuna, Vlad Jr., it was like optically it's the spider tack crackdown. And now you're taking guys like Glasnow out of the game. So it just sucks all around. Hopefully the injuries don't stack up as much as I'm thinking that they might, but the early returns are not great.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to do to pitchers. It's like if you just start I don't know. I was going to make some other sport comparison. I don't have one, but it's not a safe thing to do. I thought it was a little ridiculous when they first started. I thought guys might be able to adjust. Maybe they'll find something else to use. But I mean, they looked at DeGrom after the first inning today, and he are you kidding me? After the first inning, this guy's coming back from an injury, and you're trying to like look at every piece of him. Like they looked at his hat, they looked at his glove, they looked at his belt. Like come on, like. You're really trying to mess with the game here too much, and you're policing it way too hard. But in a shred of good news for Yankees fans, a 5-1 week. I see a lot of Yankees are back tweets. I'm going to hold off on that until I feel like we're at a place where we should be, which is first place in the AL East. We're 4.5 back right now on this off day Monday. Nick, what are you thinking about this past week? Are the Yankees back? Are you hesitant like that, like I am? What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm not going to say they're fully back, but this was the most encouraging week that they've had in a while. Going on the road, beating a Blue Jays team that's given them a lot of trouble this year, 3 straight. They take 2 out of 3 from a good Oakland A's team who was hot coming into this series. The most encouraging thing for me is we've seen them win series and have 4-2, 5-1 weeks before, but the bats were there. The ability to come from behind, whereas, certain times this year you were like, oh, it's a 1-run deficit, 2-run deficit, it's over. They have guys coming back. They were able to overcome some deficits. Giancarlo Stanton had, a go-ahead home run Thursday, game-tying single on Saturday. Judge had a couple big hits Saturday, and Gary Sanchez is hitting better than he has since 2017. I know that he was an all-star in 2019. He had a good 2019. We haven't seen him on this kind of stretch since 2017. So do I think he'll remain this hot? No, but Gary is such a confidence-based guy. He just looks locked in at the plate. And the fact that he had 2 rocket doubles to right center yesterday is something I have not seen him do in a long, long time. So I'm optimistic. They got to get fat on the Royals coming up here, going to Fenway this weekend. But this was, I think, the best week the Yankees have had this entire season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You beat 2 good teams. And in regards to Gary Sanchez, I was going to say the same thing. This is the best he's looked since his rookie season. And I actually think that you made a really good point last year when it comes to Gary Sanchez. His downs, like the ones that we dealt with earlier this season, like his ups and his downs, the downs are worth it when you get these ups. When you get these times where he's just the best catcher offensively in baseball, and it's frankly not even close. If you can make the Yasmani Grandal, he walks a lot argument. Gary Sanchez is slugging. He's doing everything that he should be doing as one of the best offensive players in baseball. So as of right now, he is the best offensive catcher. Maybe we can make the Buster Posey argument at another time. But his slugging is too good. But like his ups is worth his downs, and like the past, year and a half, if you want to, depending on how you want to count the 2020 season, like we weren't getting those ups. It was just the bad streaks, and we weren't getting those good streaks that offset the bad times. And now we're getting one of those really good streaks. And I feel like people are very high on Gary Sanchez. And I just want people to have that same enthusiasm about him when this streak eventually comes to an end. So I got like the Gary Sanchez resurgence bandwagon tour. I want that confidence when he's going back to hitting 190 over 2 weeks, because now we've seen that he's capable of at least doing this hot streak again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Gary absolutely deserves, like, once he rips off like a 2 for 28 stretch, which he will. He's human. Everyone will. Aaron Judge has been in a slide before this, and he's got a 950 OPS this year. So I get it. But what I don't understand is, why do you think that Gary Sanchez is such a polarizing player for Yankee fans. Like, I don't think there's been a Yankee this hotly debated, like you either love him or hate him as much since A-Rod. I really don't. Like, not even like the Ellsburys of the world, the Stantons, the Judges. Like, I can't put my finger on why. Like, it's not like he has this really like huge contract. He's very relatively underpaid. Like, I've seen people say like, oh, it's his race. I don't think it's that either. There's plenty, the Yankees have a diverse fan base. I think that I'm not going to call racism on an entire group of people like this big, like who react this way to him. Like, do you have any theories? I really don't know what it is about Gary Sanchez that makes people react a certain like this way, one way or the other.
I think it became the fat and lazy argument. And what Yankee fans remember when Gleyber Torres was hitting really bad and he jogged out of the box at first base and people were calling for him to get sent to the sun. Like, now it's like, okay, Gleyber Torres is actually pretty good. Like, he's like, everyone's kind of back on board with him. And I think Gary Sanchez, that conversation just got absolutely inflated to 20 times what it was with Gleyber, because they were calling him fat, they were calling him lazy, and he wasn't performing. At least Gleyber was a 30, 40 game sample size this season specifically. But with Gary, I mean, people just, he was so good and then at times so bad. So when you have that fact that you can kind of go back to the fat and lazy when he's bad, it makes you angry because you want to see him be better. You want to see him be what he's capable of. And you feel like he doesn't care when he's fat and lazy, even though not the case. But I think that's probably where it comes from, is that just people were just like, he doesn't care. He's not trying. He's fat and lazy. Gary Sanchez sucks. Like that.
Right.
That's my only argument for where that polarizingness comes from.
And I get that, but like also too, like even the fat and lazy, like the one thing that really kind of spurred that and started was in his tough 2018 when he had the one really bad ground ball that he didn't run out at the Trop. He went on the IL the next day with a groin pull, whether that was a phantom IL stint to kind of punish him or protect him from not running that out, or if he really did have a pulled groin, I don't know. But like, that's the one play you can point to in his career where it's like Gary Sanchez is lazy. Like, it's not like he's even like a Robinson Cano type where like, how many times did Cano, like, you put up with it because he was hitting 330, but like he didn't really run out balls. Like, I don't understand, like the guy played winter ball in the Dominican this year. Like, he's trying, like, and I get it. Like, he's been so bad. Like, I was on him a lot last year. I mean, the guy was legitimately hitting like 130 for a 60 game season.
A long time. Yeah.
How many guys struggled in the 60 game season? That's why I was kind of willing to give him one more chance this year and throw out what we saw, because he was the starting catcher in the All-Star game literally the year before. But it's like with Gary, like, people are just so quick to dismiss the high points sometimes because it wasn't like, I think the biggest thing for me and my theory is that he was so good in 2016-17, like 2016, 20 homers in 56 games, I think it was. He placed second in Rookie of the Year voting. Like, that was an unbelievable pace that month of August. 2017, he hits 33 homers, drives in 90, hits like 280 on a team that goes one game away from the World Series. That's just kind of like 2018, he battled injuries, but he wasn't horrible. Like, he still had the 2-homer performance at Fenway. And then 2019, he's a starting catcher in the All-Star game, but it's like people kind of dismiss it because it's like he cooled off a little in the second half and he had a bad postseason that year. So it's just really crazy to me. So it's like I haven't necessarily been like a huge Gary guy. Like, I always loved him, but I didn't like him, as much as certain other guys on the team. Like, I've always been more of like a Gleyber, Judge, DJ fan. But like, I really love seeing Gary come through right now just because of how much shit he's gotten the past couple of years, and a lot of it undeserved.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is making him most successful right now, I mean, I didn't look at the stats of it, but I remember seeing in the offseason that like why he was struggling so much last year was because his whiff rate on like just like straight fastballs, like 4-seam fastballs, was like through the roof, like one of the worst in baseball. And then this year, like, you see him pulling, or in this stretch, I should say, yeah, he pulled a fastball for a home run the other day. Like, that's, if he's catching up to that, like, you don't have a pitch to get by him because he's going to catch up to the other stuff. But like, I mean, he's a big guy, you know what I mean? It's not easy for him to have quick hands like Clint Frazier does. So it's tough for him to get around on fastballs, especially when you're catching, like, you're fatigued. It happens. But the fact that he's getting around on these a lot more consistently and pulling them nonetheless for home runs is like a huge step forward, considering that was one of the places he struggled the most. So I assuming he can kind of stay with at least getting his fastballs and, hopefully kind of starting to take them the right field and not trying to pull them, because that can kind of mess with your timing. I think that he can keep this up, not at this ridiculous, 1100 OPS pace, but I mean, he can keep it up around the 900 range, and that's really what you want from him, like over a long-term stretch. That's what you need from him.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I think that's another reason for optimism with Gary, is that maybe this sticky stuff crackdown, with some guys losing some RPMs on their fastball, maybe that's what was causing him to not be able to catch up to those high fastballs. Yeah. So if you have Gary, when he can turn on a high fastball and hit it out of the ballpark, and also go the other way and muscle balls into the right center field gap for doubles and maybe a couple short porch homers, that's a scary Gary Sanchez. And not only is that a great hitter, he's so much better than pretty much any other catcher you're going to go up against. It really is a huge advantage for the Yankees. So hopefully he keeps it up, but it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, and absolutely. So overall, just great week for the Yankees. We got the Rays getting swept, which was huge. 4-6 in their last 10. I'm just looking at the stats now. 4-6 in their last 10. Yankees are still 4 behind them, 4.5 behind the Red Sox, just in first place in general in the AL East. Rays, huge move. We kind of have to see where he's going to wind up panning out, but calling up number one prospect, I think number one in baseball, 20 years old, just hitting the shit out of the ball in AAA. I think he was like 340 was his final line down there. Actually, wearing the Durham Bulls right now. I didn't even plan for that, but that's awesome. AAA affiliate for the Rays. Calling them up amid I think a 6-game losing streak and getting swept by the Mariners. I mean, are the Rays kind of panicking, or is this kind of just like a service time manipulation thing? They felt like this was always going to happen. They were always bringing them up on whatever June 19th, no matter what. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is it a panic move? Like, Rays see their AL East lead dissipate. The Red Sox are actually in first right now as of taking this. So, but then again, the Rays also don't seem like a panic kind of team to me. Like, I think every move they make is calculated. And I don't think they trade Willy Adames, even though obviously they brought up Taylor Walls. I don't think they trade Willy Adames without the idea that Wander Franco is going to come up in, the very near future. So listen, I'm excited to see the kid. It sucks he's in division. It's this, I feel like it's the same thing like watching Vlad Jr. It's like, wow, this guy's awesome. And then you have to go and face him 19 times a year. So I don't know. We'll see. I listen, I hope he pans out, but I hope he sucks against us.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him play. He does seem like an absolutely electric guy, speed, power, all that. He seems like a young Francisco Lindor, honestly. That would be cool to watch, see him consistently, just like you said, with Vladdy, with Bo Bichette, all those guys. You wish he wasn't in your division. Yeah, I'm gonna love to hate him. Absolutely. We're going over to the NL East now. This DeGrom injury situation, got playing like the MVP, batting over 400. Comes back, leaves the last start after 3 innings, 8 strikeouts, just ridiculous start. Imagine that. RBI single, 3 innings, 8 Ks, faced 9 batters, and he's hurt. And he played through that and was still the best player in baseball by far. And he's back today. He came out through. So, I mean, kind of good situation there. Mets stay 4.5 up. But, I mean, they're kind of loosely running away with that division, very loosely. The Phillies haven't picked it up. The Braves continue to fall back. They're now 4 games under 500. Even the Nationals jumped over them. And I don't know, Mets are 21-7 at home, 16-22 away. But if they can kind of figure out their road schedule, working through all these injuries, I'm sure that's probably why it becomes a little tougher on the road. They can kind of figure that out. This is their division to lose right now.
The Mets are so well positioned. I don't know how they've been able to navigate this. They're getting Jeff McNeil back today. Michael Conforto should be back, I believe, sometime within the week. The lineups they were trotting out there and still winning games, it's just absolutely preposterous. And, DeGrom has already missed a handful of starts this year. Obviously didn't miss one today, and he looked good. Velocity was all there. The slider velo was a little bit down, but apparently he had said post-game that it was because he wanted a little bit more of a drop action to it instead of the usual cut action that it kind of has. So he's all good. I know a few of my Met fan friends were speculating maybe it's just kind of in his head a little bit with the injury since the MRIs keep coming back clean. But regardless, good good to see him, not having to miss a start. But I mean, if you look at the Mets, you look at the rest of the division, the Braves, the reinforcements aren't coming. Mike Soroka's out for the year now. Marcell Ozuna is not coming back anytime soon.
Fuck that guy.
So that team, I don't know. And then the Phillies and Nationals, I don't think are good enough to compete with the Mets. I just don't think talent-wise they're going to be there at the end of 162. So you look at the Mets, especially if they can get back Carrasco and then eventually Syndergaard, that's a scary team. I think the one biggest thing for them right now is going to be their starting pitching depth, especially with Lucchesi going down, like we said before, and David Peterson's been so inconsistent. You have DeGrom, Stroman, and Walker, and they've all been fantastic. But past that,
you could ever ask for, honestly.
Past that, you need a number 4, you need a number 5, and then this week they have 2 double headers alone, today and Thursday, so they're going to need a number 6. So you're really going to be looking to some guys in that bullpen to give you some length there, hopefully, because that is the one concern for the Mets right now is their starting pitching depth past Taijuan Walker.
Yeah, and you talk about the bullpen too. It's been spectacular. Lugo just got back. Castro's been unbelievable. Edwin Diaz has been pretty solid. So just like overall, just like a good bullpen. But I mean, the pitching has kind of carried them for a long time. You kind of want the offense to, similar to the Yankees. I mean, we've kind of made this parallel all year with them. The Mets have just kind of come out on the better end of the stick with it. But like, you kind of want the offense now that it's kind of getting back together, take a little like mental pressure and, also physical pressure, less taxing innings. Even, you can make mistakes because your offense is going to back you up a little bit. So you kind of want to see them now with all these guys coming back, the injury list getting a little bit smaller, Francisco Lindor heating up a little bit. You kind of want to, even Pete Alonso hit a home run the other day. So that, that's good to see him consistently try to, hit for power, like you should be doing. So, you kind of hope that offense can kind of settle in a little bit and take some pressure off the great Jacob deGrom and Taijuan Walker and Marcus Stroman as these guys just try to get healthy and, get some less taxing innings, under their belt. I mean, it's a long season, you don't really you don't want every inning to matter for them.
No, absolutely. And I think that's a big thing that we've talked about in regards to the Yankees too. Don't make every inning a high leverage inning. So if now it looks like Lindor's snapping out of it, hopefully Alonso snaps out of it, Dom Smith, all these guys, I'll keep saying it. The back of these guys' baseball card is too good to be this bad. So I do think you're going to look at these guys' final line numbers and they're going to end up being fine come the end of September. But the crazy thing is, in regards to the Yankees, we're talking about them trying to make up ground in the division. The Mets have a division lead, and the guys have been playing like this. So if you're a Mets fan right now, I think you got to feel really, really good about where you're at.
Yeah, stars are aligned 100% to make a good, really good division run and, walk away as the winner of the NL East. So someone who will not be winning their division, the Arizona Diamondbacks, 17-game losing streak. They continuously get swept. It is scary bad, but it is good news for the Yankees and everyone else who is going to be wanting all of their relatively talented players. I mean, they don't have a horrible roster when you really look at it. They have some talented guys. They just can't put it together. They're just god awful. But I mean, there's guys in that roster that people want. So, I mean, shout out Diamondbacks for just absolutely blowing it this past 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's bizarre, right? I saw their last win was on June 1st. They haven't won since the day before Lou Gehrig Day. And then they haven't won a road game, a 23-game road losing streak since Madison Bumgarner's 7-inning no-hitter. So it's just, it's really bizarre. And it's crazy? They don't have the worst road record in baseball or even in their own division. They're 9-31 on the road, which is obviously horrific. The Colorado Rockies are 5-27 away from Coors Field. So it's pretty crazy. But no, it's bizarre with the Diamondbacks, and you have to think that they're going to be in sell mode between the fact that the Dodgers and Padres.
This isn't working.
The Dodgers and Padres are going nowhere. You have the San Francisco Giants, who we'll get to next, have been the surprise team of all of baseball, sitting in first place. And you said it; they have names. Like, it's not the worst roster you've ever seen. Like, David Peralta is like a nice corner outfielder for some teams. Ketel Marte is, if he's available, will be
the prize child of the trade deadline.
The most talented probably position player moved. I mean, maybe you can argue Chris Bryant, but once you get if he does, or a Winker Castellanos, but once you get into years of control, Marte is going to be the best asset traded. Do they dangle a Zach Gallen. Like Zach Gallen is one of the better young starting pitchers in all of baseball, and he's super controllable. So
Eduardo Escobar was going to be on the trading block. I think he just hurt his quad though. I don't know if he's actually going to.
Yeah,
we'll see when July comes.
That was actually a Nightingale tweet today. I forget what team he said was involved. There was a team involved, like looking to trade for him, and then someone quote tweeted was like, "Actually, he's hurt." Like that was
like minutes later. Yeah, I saw that.
Unbelievable Bob content. But no, the Diamondbacks are going to sell. It's just a question of, do they sell off their veterans, the David Peralta, Drupal Cabrera, Caleb Smiths of the world, or do they dangle Marte and Gallen? Those are two guys you could really get a haul back for.
Yeah. I mean, just a relatively talented roster. So it's almost like when like an NFL team has like really good skill positions, but they just don't have like the core of the team. I feel like that's kind of what the Diamondbacks are. They have some cool skill positions with the outfielders and middle infielders, but like past that, the rest of their team is just dog shit. Yep. So that's what you're dealing with. Hopefully one of those guys winds up on the Yankees. But you mentioned it. I want to cover the Giants. I love the year of the pitcher. That's one of my favorite things that I've ever said ever in the history of forever, because I was right about that. But year of the catcher is my second favorite thing, because a catcher winning MVP almost never happens. Buster Posey did it in 2012, and he has a case for it this year. Let's look at his stat line. He is a 2-WAR. His power's back. He took off last year. He opted out for COVID. So, I mean, fresh legs, that's huge for a catcher. His power is back. He's got 12 home runs so far, 26 ribbies, batting .329, .411 on base percentage. What's his OPS? 983 OPS. I mean, while being still one of the best catchers in baseball defensively, one of the leaders of the team, he's the ace of that staff, if you will. Like, he leads people to being better. I love that in a catcher, when like you can actually like get sound pitching advice and thought process from the guy who's behind the plate. That's probably why all these Giants pitchers have been so stellar this year. It's because of Buster Posey. He calls a great game. He's very smart, and I think he is maybe not the front runner for MVP right now. Jacob deGrom deserves everything that comes his way, but Posey's got to be in the discussion, and he's one of the reasons why they're number 3 in the power rankings. They're in their first in the NL West still. So year of the catcher is my number 2 thing this year. Year of the catcher.
It's crazy, man. Like, their entire lineup has really just turned back the clock. Like, you go down the list, like Posey, like you said, he's having an unbelievable year. He's got a 170.
34 too. 34. If you're catching your 34, you should be done.
Crazy. He's got a 172 OPS plus. Brandon Belt, 146 OPS plus. Evan Longoria, he's on the IL right now, but 147 OPS plus. Like, I forgot Evan Longoria was even still playing. Like, I just remember like he got picked up when the Giants like kind of did like one of their like half go for it's when they got him and Andrew McCutchen for 2018, and neither of them really panned out. They ended up trading McCutchen at the deadline. 147 OPS plus. Brandon Crawford has a 139 OPS.
One of the best shortstops. I think the most underrated player in baseball for what he is, like compared to how much people talk about him to how much thought and like respect he gets. I think arguably the most underrated player in baseball. Brandon.
I remember there was a discussion in the offseason where it was like, could the Yankees try and trade for Brandon Crawford and slide Gleyber to second instead of re-signing DJ, since Brandon Crawford is Garrett Cole's brother-in-law? And the reaction was like, fuck no, like, this guy's a 5th infielder at this point. He's blowing DJ LeMahieu's numbers out of the water this season so far, so which is crazy. Steven Duggar, I didn't even know this guy existed. He's got a 162 OPS plus. Like, he's never had a higher OPS than like 620 in a season, and now he's got a casual 952 OPS. And Mike Yastrzemski, who's the one guy on this offense that I actually expected to rate going into the season, is having a nice year, 131 OPS plus. But it's crazy. Like, the entire Wilmer Flores has a 112 OPS plus. Like, this whole team, like in a season where offense has been down everywhere, the Giants' entire lineup just decided to say, fuck it, we're having mid-30s career years. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say it's like sustainable, because you really don't expect all those guys to be successful over the course of a long period of time. But I mean, they were hot in the beginning of the year. Everyone's like, all right, that's not going to last. You didn't expect them to be good even coming in remotely. So you get a few months in or a few weeks in, you're like, all right, they're going to cool down. You get them 2 months in, all right, they're going to cool down. And now it's, we can look at the power rankings now because it's past June 15th, and they're still one of the best teams in baseball. So it's kind of like, are they going to cool down? Like, now you got to, I think it's the time of the year where you have to start considering them to be a contender. I mean, are the Padres, Dodgers, Yankees, Mets better constructed overall? Most likely. But I mean, what have the Giants shown you to prove that they're not? They've been nothing but good. And if they can add some pieces at the deadline, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't go for it. And they shouldn't be one of the best teams in baseball going into the playoffs.
It's crazy too. And like you look at Kevin Gossman, who was a guy that like people were like, he got the qualifying offer, like was a little strange. And then he had kind of a hot start. People were saying, oh, he's a good trade deadline candidate. He's 8-1 with a 1.51 ERA in 14 starts. Like he's a certified ace. Anthony DeSclafani, who never really put it together in Cincinnati, he's got a 3 ERA. He's 7-2. Alex Wood, we've always known as talented. He's had a good season. Johnny Cueto's their 4. He's had a good season. It really is incredible. And like, it's weird to think because it's a big enough sample size for me to say like, this is legit, but at the same time, it's also so incredible that it's not sustainable. Like, do I think it's going to be enough to hold off the Dodgers or the Padres? No. But when you look at the underperformance of the rest of the NL East besides the Mets and then the NL Central, I've never been sold on really any of those teams all that much. Is it crazy to think we could be seeing the Giants in a wild card game with one of their division rivals? I don't think so at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really a tough call to make because you're like, no, like that shouldn't make sense to me. Like it's illogical to consider them what they are, but at some point, I think this is right around the sample size. That's why I said, don't look at the power rankings till June 15th. This is right around the sample size. You're going to be like, okay, like, I think we kind of have to start thinking of the Giants as somebody who is going to compete coming out of the NL. Obviously things can change, people can get hurt, whatever it is, but at that point, that's not the team that you're looking at. The team that I'm looking at right now is a good team.
If you're the Giants GM, where do you have to be on July 31st to say we're not selling, we might actually add someone? Because you look at some of these pieces, Gausman especially, he's not controlled past this year. DeSclafani, you even want to look at, maybe a Yastrzemski or a Crawford, a Belt. These are guys that could bring you back a decent return, especially a Gausman being a frontline starting pitcher. There's a good chance he might end up being the best guy moved at the deadline if he were to be. What position do you have to be in to say, you know what, like, I know that like coming into this year, we didn't think we would have a shot at this thing, but we're just going to go for it.
The only reason I think the Giants are a unique case. Most other teams, like we talk about the Cubs, where are they going to be? Like, what are they thinking? You talk about the Giants. I mean, we talked about the year that they went for it with Longoria and McCutchen. They were kind of just like, let's try it, see what happens. The year that they were supposed to get a haul for Madison Bumgarner, they went on a hot streak and didn't trade him, even though everyone was like, you should probably just trade them. It seems like the Giants aren't that interested in when your contract expires, how many years of control you have, the haul you can get back. I think, and it's probably because of how successful they were during the 2010s. I mean, they were the team of the decade. They won 3 World Series. Like, I think that it's because of that random stretch of just wild success that they had, that they believe that any year you can compete. And if they're hot, I think they're just going to be buyers, or they're going to add a piece, or just roll with what they have. I think the Giants are in a very unique spot with what I don't know who their GM is, but however he's operated in the past, he seems to think that, fuck it, let's go for it every single year, unless it's like blatantly obvious that like you are not good at baseball.
Yeah. I do think it's tough because it's like with a guy like Gausman, who's only been a Giant for a short time now, it's not like trading Madison Bumgarner, who's a franchise hero, 3-time World Series champion, right? So that's different. But at the same time, do they look at this team and say, you know what, we want to give Buster Posey, Brandon Crawford, Brandon Belt, guys who we have won with, like, one last shot at it? So that almost is what makes me kind of think, as long as they don't collapse, in the month of July, I think that they are going to go for it.
Yeah. And I kind of hope they do. I think even if let's say they fall back to like third place by like July and they're not like 10 games out, like if they're within 5, they've shown me enough good baseball to think that, okay, they can at least catch up again and be a wild card team or be an effective playoff team to make this run worth it. And then, again, you just figure it out in the offseason with which they have clearly done well in the past.
Absolutely. And listen, nothing can convince me, or at least nothing has convinced me at this point, that the Dodgers and Padres aren't still the best two teams in the National League. I fully expect one of them to win the division and one of them to win the top wild card spot. No other team has shown me that they're better than the Giants for that second wild card spot. So if you're firmly looking like at least a playoff team, then I think they're going to go for it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Nick, do you have a not safe for work?
Oh shit, I actually didn't prepare one, but you know what? We're gonna go with the Yankees triple play to end the game. That was incredible. Aroldis Chapman is doing that thing game where he looks like an asshole every outing. Like he's actually one guy. Like certain guys, I'll defend. Like as a Yankee fan, where you're like, oh, Giancarlo is slumping right now. Once he gets his timing down, like I'm a big defender of guys. I'm not that way with Chapman. He just pisses me the fuck off. You're paying him to be the highest paid closer in the league, or at least one of them. Sometimes you just can't fucking throw strikes. Like Boone said yesterday, it's like a nail issue, which I bought the first time, but now it's like, all right, I don't buy that this guy just actually has that shitty of fingernails. Like it's just a cover for, hey, he can't throw strikes. And they used him for the fourth time in 5 days yesterday, which they don't usually do. So he's been weird all week, gave up a run the day before, and obviously blew the Minnesota game a week before. So he's been a real asshole. So the fact that he was able to get out of it with this triple play, gets a save and 3 outs on 11 pitches, 2 of which were strikes, just something you don't see anymore. And just a shout out to Gio Urshela. He's just such a fucking wonder to watch play baseball. I don't know if it's because we were subjected to like the Miguel Andujars and Chase Headleys of the world playing third base before we got Gio.
Yes. I haven't heard Chase Headley in weeks or years.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like those were the guys we had to watch try and play third base. So I get that Gio isn't exactly necessarily Matt Chapman, even though Gary actually diced up Matt Chapman pretty good yesterday on his double that he ends up getting the third on.
Yeah, we didn't even get into the fact that I hate Matt Chapman for being called the best third baseman in baseball for 5 years, and he missed his tag at third base.
Matt Chapman,
I'm Gold Glover my ass. Are you kidding me?
Matt Chapman is so fucking overrated. You look at his baseball reference page, you're just like, wait, like he's
this guy.
He's unbelievable defensively, but like you look at his numbers and it's like you put them up against the Bregmans, the Rendones, the Machado, Arenado, fucking Jose Ramirez. Like there's a fucking billion third baseman. Gio Urshela has like better offensive numbers than in the past couple years. So whatever. But no, that triple play was unreal. Third of the season. And just like Gio to DJ and then Chris Gittens, you get Chris Gittens' reaction. Glaber's reaction is just adorable. So just a fucking great way to put a cap on the Yankees' best week of the season so far.
Yeah, so totally agree. My not safe for work is actually from college baseball this weekend, Texas and Mississippi State. Will Bednar, front door slider from Pitching Ninja. This video is, it's not exactly the pitch. Great pitch, great pitcher. It was honestly a great game. But my not safe for work is the camera angle. And I was ranting to you, Nick, about this weekend. College baseball just does the camera angles so much better. It was the behind home plate view where it's like, I think you saw a video of like Derek Jeter doing it in like, I think it was like the 90, I don't know what the video, I think it was like the 98 World Series or something like that. It was, or maybe it was 2000. Cause I think it wound up being the Subway Series, that video, but it's like where it's from behind home plate and you can see like the angle, the launch angle and everything that you can see the spin much better. And college baseball in general, they line up their camera from center field as opposed to MLB, who more often does it to the right so that you're angled coming in and you can't see the movement on the pitches as well. There are 2 seams that move across the entire plate. And from that angle, you can't really tell. You don't know how much the ball is moving. When you watch a college game, you see like these curveballs that are moving like 12 inches, like just like a ridiculous amount. And it's kind of ridiculous because in the MLB, these pitches are moving faster and just as much, but you would have no idea. So my not safe for work is college baseball getting another camera angle right. And surprisingly, it was ESPN, and they don't just transfer that over to MLB. I'm not sure if that's Rob Manfred being a stupid idiot again, or if that's just people just not getting with the times, but that's a much better way to watch a game. And you'll understand why hitters swing at ridiculous pitches a lot more often if you see it from that camera angle. So that's
I got to get into college baseball. I got to get into it. I really do. It just seems just the crowd, the passion, like it's just all like whenever I see highlights of it, it just looks unbelievable.
It's similar to March Madness and how they do the whole Omaha thing. It's really cool. I wouldn't say it's as popular just because March Madness gets a ton of publicity. And obviously it's got the tournament aspect. You got like all the brackets and stuff. People don't really do that for college baseball, but in terms of excitement in each game, it's just as good. And the guys play just as hard. You get to see crazy bat flips more. You see the teams running out onto the field, like swarming their players. Like it's literally just like American baseball. Like that's what it feels like. And it's with metal bats. So it sounds so much cooler too. All right. That's my rant. That's my college baseball rant. All right. Sorry. Anything else?
No, all good. This was a great week of baseball. It's always a lot more enjoyable filming these when the Yankees are doing well, but I feel like we had a lot to unpack. It's really been a great season. You might not recognize it from the outside looking in. All you see is, the spider tack stuff and offense being down, but it's been a hell of a baseball season so far. So we're 3 months in now and we got, 3 more to go. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. All right. Keep an eye on the power rankings. Your guys are allowed to look at them again. So thanks for not doing that, even though I'm sure everyone did. All right. Go Yankees. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Later, skaters.